What if something hurting in your body didn't start in your body? What if all the tension you're carrying, such as the clenched jaw, or the shoulders are always tight, the headaches, the exhaustion, stomach issues, you know what I'm talking about? Just that feeling that you can't never just like completely relax. What if that isn't just physical? What if your body has just been responding to a threat that isn't even in there anymore? Like it's not even happening. I want you to stay with me until the end because this is going to shock the hell out of you. See, your brain doesn't only respond to what's happening around you. It responds to what it believes is happening. And sometimes the thing keeping your body on alert isn't standing directly in front of you. It's something that happened 5, 10, hell, maybe even 30 years ago. Or just a belief you formed as a child that you're still unknowingly and just like subconsciously just carrying around all day, every day. See, once I started understanding this, it completely changed the way I looked at healing and living and the life that I just desired, that I wanted. Think about this. Have you ever just received that text? You get a text message, you read it a certain way, and instantly you felt your stomach just drop. And nothing physically touched you, no one and nothing is attacking you. You're literally holding your phone, but your heart starts like beating faster. Your stomach changes, your muscles are tense and tight. Maybe your face gets all red and you start sweating. One interpretation just created a measurable physical reaction in you. And that's how intimately connected our mind and body are. And there's actual science behind this. See, when your brain perceives danger, your stress response gets activated, right? Those stress hormones such as like adrenaline, cortisol, that all gets done and happens because it's helping you survive, right? A heart rate goes up, you're gonna breathe, it changes, the muscles tense, and your attention is gonna narrow. And that's incredibly amazing and useful when you actually need to escape danger. But here's the problem. What happens when the tiger isn't a tiger? What happens when the tiger is just rejection, abandonment, not feeling good enough, being criticized, maybe losing someone or getting cheated on, money issues, or something that happened when you were like 8 years old? Your body doesn't sit there and say, oh, Leanne, baby girl, come here. That's just Leanne's childhood abandonment belief. We're all good here, honey, but let's go back to normal. Go on. No, your nervous system responds to perceived threat. And this is where it becomes important because occasional stress is normal. We all have it, and I believe that it's like necessary and good in a way. The problem is when we're constantly living in it. Because chronic stress means the body's alarm system just it's just like getting activated over and over and over again. And one of the easiest places to see this is your muscles. Think about what you physically do when you're stressed. I know for me, oh my God, my jaw, my neck, my shoulders, everything just gets like stiff. My daughter, she gets like these horrible stomach aches. It's like, and some people I know, like they'll literally just like stop breathing for a while without even realizing. And my point is like, it's not woo-woo. That's physical, like happening. It's physiology. And if your muscles just repeatedly remain guarded and tense, and you experience like muscle pain and tension and headaches, those are physical symptoms. But the effects of the chronic stress don't necessarily stop with your muscles. Because long-term stress has been associated with changes involving cardiovascular health, digestion, sleep, immune functioning, and other symptoms throughout that body. And childhood adversity is especially fascinating. Researchers have studied something called adverse childhood experiences. So things like abuse, neglect, violence, instability, and other stressful childhood environments. And decades of research have found associations between greater childhood adversity and increased risk of numerous physical and mental health problems just later in life. And now listen carefully to what I'm saying, because I'm not saying trauma causes every disease. I'm not saying if you're sick, you thought yourself to be sick. And I'm definitely not saying forget your doctor. I'm just saying your health is influenced by genetics, infections, environment, lifestyles, biology, medical conditions, and like many other factors. But physiological, in your body, stress is also biology. So your mind isn't floating somewhere outside your body. I mean, your consciousness maybe, but that's a whole nother video. But your brain is a part of your body. So what happens psychologically can have a physiological, consequence on you as well. And that blew my mind, because then I started asking even deeper questions. Why can two people experience something similar and have a completely different experience or reaction? Because we don't experience life only through what's actually happening. You and me, we experience it through the meaning our brain gives to what's happening. And the meaning you're giving it is influenced by your history, your expectations, your memories, those learned associations, and most importantly, your beliefs. And this is why I talk about beliefs so much. Because imagine you're 8 years old. Maybe somebody leaves. Your 8-year-old brain doesn't necessarily think, okay, my parent is emotionally dysregulated and incapable of maintaining a secure attachment style with me. No, because you're 8. And your 8-year-old self may decide, people leave me. I'm not enough. Maybe you're constantly criticized as a child and you decide, I'm going to have to be perfect to be loved. Or maybe your house was just very unpredictable and you decided, I have to stay alert because something bad could happen. Or maybe early on, love was just really inconsistent. Mom and dad were there and then they weren't. And you had to learn, or you did learn, that I have to earn love. And now let's fast forward. You're 20, you're 35, you're 40. The original situation is gone, but that belief is still remaining. And because the belief remains, you may continue interpreting new situations through an old lens. And this is exactly why shadow work has become so important in my own life. Because I started realizing I could change the job. I could change the boyfriend. I could change the goal. And hell, I can change my whole environment. I'll pack up and leave. But eventually, I'm going to meet myself again. And every time I generally go inward, I find something. And sometimes it's uncomfortable as hell. Sometimes I'll be journaling, I'm being really vulnerable here. I'll suddenly realize something and be like, oh my God, that's why this bothers me so much. It's not always about what just happened. Sometimes it's about what's happening today is just touching something much older from the past. So a fear, an insecurity, a story, a belief. And I've had those moments doing the shadow work where I realize, holy shizness, I've spent years responding to something as though it was true in this current situation without ever stopping to ask, wait, do I actually believe this? Where did this come from? Who taught me this? When did I decide this? And is it even actually true? And do I want to keep carrying this? That question has changed so much for me. So, and I do want to clarify something because I don't like when people say this about shadow work. Shadow work isn't sitting around obsessing over everything terrible that's ever happened to you. It's about blaming your parents for everything horrible that has ever happened to you. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. We're not blaming our parents. And it's not making your trauma like your identity. We're not sitting in it for that long. For me, shadow work is turning inward towards the parts of myself I normally just run from. Like the jealousy, fear, rejection, control, insecurity, anger, that neediness, and the shame. So instead of saying, I shouldn't feel this, I ask, why does this affect me so strongly? What am I afraid of that this means? And then what would I have to do, or what would I have to believe for this situation to hurt me so badly? That one question is so important because sometimes the emotion is sitting on top of the belief. Someone doesn't text you back, emotion, anxiety. Go underneath it. What am I afraid this means? Is it that they're losing interest? Go underneath that. And what would that mean about me? Maybe I'm not good enough? There it is. Now we're no longer fighting about a goddamn text message. We're talking to a belief that may have existed for decades. And here's what I have personally started paying attention to. When something triggers me, I don't only ask, Leanne, what am I thinking? I ask, where am I feeling this? Is it in my jaw? Am I holding my neck stiff? Is it my stomach, my shoulders? Am I breathing okay? Am my chest tight? You know what I mean? Because sometimes my body notices my stress before my conscious mind does. And instead of immediately trying to make the feeling just disappear, I've started getting a little curious about it. Meaning like just sitting with myself, even my younger little self, and asking, hey, little child self, what happened right before this? What thought was I having? What am I afraid of? What story am I telling myself? What does this remind me of? And what belief might be underneath it? And not because every ache in your body has some like hidden spiritual meaning, like genie out of a box, but sometimes a sore shoulder is a sore shoulder. And oh my God, I cannot shake this, like I have a slip disc in my neck and I can't get rid of it. But in all seriousness, my body can give me information about my emotional state that I've learned to ignore. And this might be the most important thing I can share with you ever. Something happening to you and something becoming part of your identity are two totally different things. Maybe someone abandoned you. That happened. Everyone will abandon me is a belief. Maybe someone rejected you. That happened. I'm unlovable is just a belief, babe. Or maybe you failed. That happened. You're not a failure. That's a belief. Maybe your childhood was very chaotic. That happened. You can feel safe because that's just a belief, a system that you learned. And there's a huge difference between honoring what happened and unconsciously, continually to live from what happened. Your past definitely deserves compassion, but it does not automatically deserve to control over your future. So tonight, I want you to try something. Grab a journal, piece of paper, anything. Find one situation that creates disappropriateness, like a strong reaction in you. Don't start with something traumatic. Don't start with something big. Just start with something small and write what happened. Then, what did you feel? What did you think that it meant? What are you afraid of this is saying about you? And like, what would you have had to believe for this to actually feel true? Keep going underneath it, because you may eventually find something like, I'm not enough. I'm unsafe. Nobody stays. I have to prove myself. I have to be perfect. Oh my God, I can't trust anyone. I can't deserve this, or I don't deserve this. And once you see the belief, you finally have something you can examine instead of just unconsciously obeying. And maybe this is what healing actually looks like sometimes. Not becoming somebody new, but just discovering all the things you learned you had to become to survive. And deciding what you don't need anymore. You don't need the hypervigilance. You don't need the perfectionism. You don't need to be a people pleaser. The constant need for approval, inability to rest, like I gotta get this all done, I can do this on my own, controlling every outcome. No. Those are just parts. They're not weaknesses. Those are just parts. And maybe at one point, they were protection. But protection that was useful at 8 years old, doesn't necessarily need to run your life at 20, 30, 40, 60. You can thank that version of yourself for helping you survive and still decide, we're not living there anymore. Because your thoughts matter. Your emotions matter. Your nervous system and your physical health matter. And they aren't separate little like compartments. They're interacting. They're all interacting pieces of that human being, that beautiful, sexy body of yours. So yes, go to the doctor. Okay, take care of that body. Exercise, try to get that body moving daily. I want you to sleep well, eat well. Get appropriate treatment when something hurts. But also, go within. Because sometimes we spend our entire lives trying to change what's happening outside of us without ever investigating what's happening inside of us. And you may be surprised by what you find when you sit with that little younger self. Because you're not her or him anymore. You're not trapped in that house, and you're not in that relationship anymore. And you're not experiencing that rejection anymore. But some part of you may still just be living as though you are. And you don't even know it. And maybe healing begins when you can finally tell that part of yourself, we survived it, we're here. And we don't have to keep living like it's still happening. I find myself doing this all the time, and I'll even laugh and love okay, we got this now. And here's a question I want to leave you with. What if the thing you're trying hardest to change in your life isn't the problem, but the clue? What if your biggest triggers are showing you exactly where to look? And that's what we're going to explore next. Because once you discover the belief, there's another question. How do you actually change it? So, if this hit home for you, make sure you hit comment shadow below, because we are no longer living in our old shadow. And I do have a shadow workbook that has helped a lot of people that is on Amazon for sale that I will link in the description below. And until that, I cannot wait to see you in the next video. Much peace and love.